What if the law of the land said impossible, but your imagination said otherwise? Neville Goddard faced that very conflict. A man entangled in a marriage New York law refused to dissolve. No way out, no chance of freedom. And yet, Neville didn't turn to lawyers. He turned inward. He dared to test one radical truth. Imagination creates reality. This is the story that proved it. Not theory, not myth, but history. Neville's first wife was Mildred Mary Hughes. Together they had a son, Joseph. But the marriage collapsed. For 14 years they lived apart. At that time, divorce in New York was nearly impossible. The law demanded grounds. Adultery was the only reason the courts would accept. Everything else, cruelty, abandonment, brought only separation, not freedom. Neville once said, "I was in a snare, entangled in the law, and yet he met a woman named Catherine Willa Van Schmoos, daughter of W.G. Van Schmoos, an executive at Radio City Music Hall. Catherine herself worked there as a costume designer. The very moment he saw her, Neville said, 'You don't know it, but you are going to be my wife.' It sounded impossible, but imagination was already at work. At the Hotel Hargrave on West 72nd Street, Neville turned inward. He said, 'I went to bed and slept as though I was blissfully married to the girl who now bears my name. No physical emotion, just the sense that she was there beside me. And it was blissful. He did this for a week. He even imagined a daughter asking him, 'How could you love such a beautiful woman?' And his reply, 'She's your mother.' He ignored the obstacles. He lived only in the end. And let me pause the story for a moment. Neville claimed this law of assumption works for everyone. What about you? Have you ever tried using imagination to create your reality? Did you succeed? Leave a comment and share your story. Your example might inspire someone else who needs to hear it. All right. Now back to Neville's story. Then came the bridge of incidents. Mildred was arrested for shoplifting. Police searched her home and found more stolen goods. Neville was summoned to court. On the stand, he explained they had been separated for 14 years, that the separation wasn't religious, that he bore her no malice, and then he shocked the courtroom. He pleaded, "Do not sentence her. She is the mother of my son." The judge replied, "I have never heard a plea like this." The sentence was 6 months, but on Neville's plea, it was suspended. Outside the courtroom, everything changed. Mildred asked for the divorce papers. She accepted them from Neville directly. Technically improper, but symbolically it was done. From there, the case entered the Supreme Court of New York. Records differ. Some say the decree was granted in 1938. Others say it was completed in 1942. The ground listed was adultery, the only ground the law recognized. Neville himself said only this: "After that day, I obtained my divorce in New York City. The entanglement was broken, and it was broken not by force, not by pleading, not by the wisdom of men, but by the simple act of imagination. I dared to assume the end. I lived as though it were already true. Night after night I entered that state, and in time, the world conspired to make it fact. So I tell you, the law works. It is no respecter of persons. What freed me will free you. Whatever chain binds you, imagine it dissolved. Whatever entanglement holds you, imagine it already undone. Live in the end, and the end will live in you." But Catherine was not passive. She too lived in the end. She wore a wedding ring in imagination. She carried herself as though already married. One day a psychic stopped her and said, "Why did you take off your wedding ring? You are married, aren't you? I'll even tell you his name." And then the woman stumbled over it. Neva, until the sound nearly formed itself. Neville. Even the outer world was echoing her inner state. Soon after, Neville and Catherine married in New York. The ceremony took place on West 48th Street. The officiant was Reverend C. Everett Wagner. The witnesses were Neville's relative, J.N. Goddard, and Catherine's mother, Margaret von Schmuss. On the marriage certificate, Neville listed as lecturer. Catherine listed as costume designer. Residences, Neville at the Hotel Hargrave, Catherine at 24 West 55th Street. That same year, their daughter Victoria was born, the very child Neville had imagined years before. Catherine herself used the law in her daily life. Neville recalled how she often affirmed, "Wonderful things are happening." She was not just his wife. She was his partner in the practice of imagination. This is not myth. This is history. A husband entangled in the courts of New York. A wife arrested for theft. A plea that stunned the judge. Divorce papers accepted in a courthouse hallway. A psychic stumbling over the name Neville. A second wife who wore an invisible ring until the world caught up. And a daughter born into a family first created in imagination. Neville said it best. "I slept in the assumption I was blissfully married. And then my wife behaved in such a manner that it made it natural for me to do what I did." Neville proved it. Even the courts of law bowed to imagination. So what about you? What verdict in your life feels final? What entanglement have you accepted as unchangeable? If this story moved you, drop a like, share it with someone who needs hope, and leave your story in the comments. And when you're ready for the next mystery, step into the zone of the unseen. Because imagination is not the end of Neville's story, it's the beginning of yours.